Hey friends, welcome to the page. I'm Ken Smith and I'm here with Jerry in this absolutely gorgeous 1930 Model A Town Sedan. And so, Jerry, you're kind of new to the Model A thing. So what even got you interested in the Model A to begin with?
Well, first and foremost, Ken, I'm a car nut.
Okay. And I see that here.
Yeah, you probably have noticed.
Yeah.
I just enjoy all cars. You know,
Right.
I grew up in the '80s, but being a fan of just every car, anything that moved and had an engine, had a motor, even a boat where I had to row it, just fascinated me, right? So, always into cars, and I have we'll call them quote unquote fast cars.
Right.
I get into those as well. But my wife and I had been looking and discussing things for 10, 15 years. How are we going to get into the classic car world? You know, because we want to take things to shows.
Sure.
You know, things like that. We really enjoy car shows and that. So we've been discussing, what are we going to do about it, right? So just started looking, you know, what was out there. I like the 50s and 60s muscle cars and those types of things, sure. But it just didn't appeal to me, just for what we were looking at. And I had always liked, quite honestly, and who doesn't, is doozies and the Packards and the Auburns, you know.
Right.
Always loved those cars, the big bug eyes as we used to refer to,
sure.
right? And so I just started looking, and I stumbled upon some videos on YouTube, ironically enough, of you know, people with Model A's, and it just really started opening my eyes, and I said, wait a minute, let me look into this. And as I started digging deeper, we said, you know what, let's do this. Let's find us a Model A, you know, just the perfect car.
All right. So you obviously found a Model A, and this is your first.
It is.
And probably won't be your only. Usually Model A bugs bite and bite hard, but this has a very unique history to it. Tell me about it.
That it does. Anybody that knows me and my cars, they know that the car is half the picture. To me, when I'm buying or even when I'm selling, it's the story.
Right.
I mean, the story behind it is so important to me. And you know, I want to have documentation. I want to know where it has been, and because I know where it's going,
right,
in my hands. But I just want to make sure that I know of its history, and it has a great history.
Yeah.
This in particular car, it just blew my mind. First of all, you know, the color combo was exactly what we were looking for. You know, everything about it. But so then when I started digging into its story, then my eyes really opened. I'm like, whoa. So this was in one family from 1930 until 2018.
Okay.
One family.
One family.
You know, that in itself is amazing.
That is a story right there.
Right. And the way the story really goes crazy is the Dick Brower. Dick Brower's grandfather bought this car new in Fort Dodge, Iowa in 1930, in February of 1930. This is a January 30 car.
Right.
So he bought it new. And then in 1961, when the car was a young 31 years old, right, he gifted it to his grandson, Dick Brower. Dick was an insurance agent in Fort Dodge, Iowa. And he drove it for about 4 years. And I think I can probably imagine, as anybody can, is early 20s, not really feeling a Model A at that point.
Sure.
So Dick put it in storage. And he put it in storage on his family's farm in the barn,
right,
in 1964.
And we're going to see a picture of that barn later.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm sure it's probably right there.
Yeah.
So he put it in storage, and it sat for about 27 years or so. In 1991, Dick pulled it out of storage, right, to do a complete, and I mean complete, as you can see, restoration complete, right, for his daughter's wedding, which was going to go in about 1995. So he took this car and restored it to its current state over a 3.5-year time frame. I think it was like 1,500 hours. And he'd never done that before. And according to the newspaper article that will show as well,
Sure.
he'll never do it again.
Yeah.
he said,
and this was his first restoration. Only restoration.
First
yes.
and only.
Yes.
First and only. And he knocked it out. So 1995, it was ready for the wedding. Truth be known, he spent all of that time to get it prepared. And he was so fanatical about this car that he actually wasn't running quite right, wasn't running right, but he towed it down to the church the morning of his daughter's wedding and was in his tuxedo with the hood open, continuing to work on it to get it running.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, for him, he just couldn't make it happen. So
Yeah.
all of that work, they had to back it out of the way, and his daughter and her new husband used his Continental.
Right.
So that's kind of a strange story to it, unfortunately. I'm sure it broke his heart, to be honest.
Yeah.
But so what does a guy have to do? Right? I mean, what's the next logical step here?
Yeah. What do you do with the car now?
What do you do with a car that looks like this, that you spent all of this time on, and it was your grandfather's? I think the next logical step was to build a glass case where your den used to be in the house, right?
Right.
A glass enclosure.
And we've got a picture of that too. We'll show. Yeah.
Heated and cooled, right?
Yeah.
And place this car in the house, in the glass case, heated and cooled, in Fort Dodge, Iowa, and take it out twice a year for parades. I think that's the next logical step. Right?
Yeah.
And so let's have said car set in that location for another 27 years. And so that was
only driven twice a year.
Driven twice a year. As it currently sets, 1,315 miles.
Since its restoration.
Honestly, I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I don't have any documentation as far as what the actual miles are. I don't know. I can speculate.
Sure.
But, we have pictures of it as he pulled it out of storage, which still looks great. It's just, it's been sitting in storage for almost 30 years. So that's where this car lived for another 27 years inside of this glass case, like all good car fanatics should have.
Right. And at this juncture, it's still within the family.
Yes.
And it's only the second owner, technically. Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. And it's, so as time goes on, we all age.
Right.
And unfortunately, it came to the point where, Dick had to...
Some of us swell, too.
Some people do.
Yeah.
It's donuts, I hear.
Yeah, yeah.
So, unfortunately, I know that it broke his heart. And I'm sure we'll probably show some pictures of him holding on to that last picture of Dick, because I want to make sure that people know,
right,
who did this.
Yeah.
Right, and he had to sell it, and he sold it to a gentleman. We'll call him Steve.
Okay.
Up in Michigan.
All right.
And he held on to it for about 4 years, right, and then took great care of it. Just polished it, kept it clean, and ran it periodically, right? But Steve was looking for, quite honestly, a driver. And he's like, it's a little too nice for me, Jerry. I don't really want to drive it that much.
Yeah.
So I'm like, my wife and I said, well, we'll take it off your hands. And that we did. We drove up and we turned the corner. I actually have footage of when Ann saw it first.
Right.
And when she saw that,
it was over.
Oh, it was over. It was over. And I'll say the phrase that Steve said whenever he introduced us to Ruby.
Okay.
He said, welcome to your brand new 93-year-old car.
Yeah. And it is a brand new 93-year-old car. I mean, it's just absolutely exquisite. We'll show the video footage of it later on in the video, but it's just every screw, every bolt. It's just, I mean, the undercarriage, everything. It's just exquisitely done. And especially for someone who's never done a car.
One time, yeah.
You know, I mean, this is just really exquisite. Really, really is.
It blows my mind. I walk out in here in the garage, and I mean, I can't believe I have it.
Yeah.
I mean, really, I am a car fanatic, and with my other cars, people that know me also ask me,
why am I?
What are you doing?
Yeah.
I mean, my question is simple. Why not?
Why
I mean,
not?
it's beautiful. I think, as you've said many times, and a lot of guys, we're part of the Queen City Model A Club,
Right.
and it's a Model A puts smiles on everyone's face.
Absolutely. Unlimited smiles per gallon.
Yeah, and it's we have some granddaughters, and man, when they're in it, they can't stop touching stuff, and they say, oh, it's a fluffy car.
Right.
They call it the fluffy cars, you know, from the interiors. Everything's just mohair. It's just, but it just brings smiles to everybody's faces, and we enjoy taking it out. You know, we've had it to numerous car shows.
Yeah. Well, as a matter of fact, tell me about the first car show you took it to.
Oh, well, the first car show we took it to was a yacht club of all things.
Okay.
At a big lake here in the area, and there were 92 cars there.
Wow.
Some beautiful cars. I mean, I was like, wow. And we won best of show. You know, we probably should have the trophy right here, but no, it's fine. But yeah, we won best of show, which was very, you know, it shocked me. I mean, it was pretty awesome. And then we took it to an AACA show in another town and won, you know, best in our class. You know, and it's just every place we take it, just people are, you know, they got to step back and say, you know, I've never seen one like this.
Yeah, and that really speaks volume to the guy who spent 3.5 years prepping this for his daughter's wedding.
It does. I mean, and
it's, you know, and still looks as good as it does.
You know, and most of the time it drives well.
Right.
You know, it's 93 years old.
Sure.
But, we drive it. We've taken it to dinner a few nights.
Yeah.
We've tried to take it on a certain evening of the week.
Yeah.
We'll take it out and we'll go about a 20-mile trip to down into town, as we'll call it, and it's just such a blast. We're sitting there eating, and people are walking up to us as we're eating and going, "That's yours?"
Yeah.
And, well, first of all, they look at me and they're like, "What are you doing in this?" Right?
Yeah.
I'm like, "Hey, I like it."
Yeah.
You know.
It's just a ton of fun.
It is.
And so, tell me the joy that you get from letting other people see this vehicle.
You know, that's the thing. You know, I know Ruby spent her time in, what is it, 54 years,
right?
Basically in storage, either in a barn or in an enclosed, heated and cooled glass case.
Yeah.
And you know, obviously limited exposure, but I really, you know, my wife and I, we enjoy taking her to car shows and opening up the doors and letting people go in.
Yeah.
Letting people go in and sit, and you know, we've had many teenagers, youth, you know, people from all ages, all demographics will come up to it, and they're shocked.
Yeah.
That they're like, really? I can actually touch it? Because normally there's signs that says, you know, do not touch. You know, electric fence here. You know, you will be right. So, but we're not that way. We want people to be respectful of it.
Sure.
But I want people to feel it and to
Yeah.
touch it and to enjoy it. And the feedback we've received, especially from the 20s, people in their 20s and
Right.
teenagers, even some maybe younger 30s, have just been blown away. They're like, wow. Because all you ever see typically, unless you go to a Model A club event,
Right.
or an AACA, you see ones that are dropped and rotted and Chevy V8, right?
Right.
You see those.
Yeah.
Those are the Model A's you see. You don't see these very often, so it's really fascinating for people to understand what it was truly like back in the day when things were so much simpler.
Yeah, yeah, and it says an awful lot for the car itself too. I mean, just you know, the fact that, you know, 90 plus years later, you can still sit down with a catalog And with the exception of a gas tank, buy every part and build a Model A from scratch.
I'm glad you said that because, you know, when we were looking, you know, that was important to me.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these other cars, you know, that we mentioned earlier, I mean,
Yeah.
some of that stuff you have to basically have hand built.
Yep.
Someone has to craft something if you break something, certain parts, right? But as you pointed out, there are catalogs out there online or old style
Yep.
that you can buy pretty much everything. So
Yep.
that was important to me as well. Availability of parts.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's a huge thing that a lot of people don't really realize with a classic car. You know, because I was torn between buying a Model A and buying a Chevy. I know I told you about that, and it came down to I can get parts for this anywhere. And in most cases, you know, if you're doing a cross-country drive or you're doing, you know, 400 or 500 mile stint out and then another 400 or 500 mile stint back, there's enough Model A suppliers that chances are you can get that part overnighted to you. But I think what's even more important is the community.
Right.
And it's just unbelievable the amount of people that I have met over time and the instant community that is developed with people helping you hands-on, people helping you with parts if you break down, hey, I've got this, you know, that type of thing. And so I love the community. And I found that really kind of unique. Being a muscle car guy, you know, 30 years ago, it was a whole different animal.
Different
you know.
world.
This community is really, really incredible. So
I've even heard, Ken, that there are those out there that if you're on drives or something, they'll swap out carburetors on the spot.
Yeah.
You know, stuff like that.
yeah,
That's the community that we enjoy being a part of. You know, it truly is. It is truly about the community itself. Is another addition to what brought us to this particular car and the Model A's in general. It's just that community, and like you pointed out, we've done some events with the Model A Club here locally, and just phenomenal people.
Yeah.
You know, just will do anything, and are eager to teach and are eager to share.
yes,
And that's important.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So you've got you're getting ready for another car event, aren't you?
We are.
Yeah,
This bad boy, this bad boy.
yeah,
Even though her name's Ruby, so this
Right.
is, we will be taking her to the Hilton Head Concours this November. So coming up pretty soon,
yeah.
and we're really looking forward to that. You know, see how she shows. You know, down there in a very, 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 very tough place.
Yeah, so you're gonna have some tough competition, but it'll be
Sure.
it'll be a great experience, I'm sure. And if you want to see this car, that's the time to go. Now, when is Hilton?
November 3, 4, and 5.
Okay.
Right,
All right,
and
yeah.
Hilton Concours d'Elegance.
Yeah, that
And,
sounds great.
Yeah.
So
So we will be there. Ruby's going to be there, and you know.
I will not be there because that's my birthday. But no, I wish you the best of luck, Jerry. And I'm, you know, just seeing the two of you guys and meeting you and seeing the car and just hearing the story and hearing the love and the passion that really not just you but Ann equally has.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna fool you now.
Yeah, and she's definitely a driver too. So I'm sure she'll get behind the wheel of this
Yes.
and get cruising with it as well. So
And she may want to buy her own when she's like, or she'll probably take this
yeah,
one.
well,
I'm
you
gonna buy
know,
one.
we're kind of in an empty space right here, so I can see a his and her in the future. But I'll let you decide.
I'm not gonna rule that out.
You got enough room to add
Yeah.
that way too. So
Yeah, we have
yeah,
space.
there you go. So well, Jerry, thank you so much. I so appreciate you taking the time to just show me the car and telling me the backstory behind it. We've got some video footage that we're going to show, as well as some of the images, including the glass case. So make sure you watch the end of the video as well. Hey, remember to give us a like and subscribe. But more than anything else, be blessed.